Yesterday, he gave a Labor Day speech in Milwaukee. And yeah, if you listen to it, it was kind of painful. Well, no, the speech was okay. It's when he was speaking to the union workers in that little gathering that he had. I didn't see the speech where he used teleprompter, but I watched the live event where he talked to union workers, and it was painful to watch. Yes, it was. It was painful because of his inability to focus or put together a coherent sentence. That's when he kept saying, and guess what? And guess what? It is kind of cute, I guess, in a 10-year-old way. But come on, Joe, could you stop saying that? And guess what? Anyway, at the speech that he gave on Labor Day in Milwaukee, he said, quote, I want to be very clear up front. Not every Republican is a MAGA Republican. Not every Republican embraces that extreme ideology. I know because I've been able to work with mainstream Republicans my whole career, end quote. But Joe, in the body of what you just said is a truth that you can't seem to recognize. When you say you've been able to work with mainstream Republicans your whole career, good Lord, Joe, your career spans what, half a century? Well, sure. Back in the 60s and 70s and even part of the 80s, you could work with mainstream Republicans. But, Mr. President, that was then. This is now. There is no such thing anymore as mainstream Republicans. I just wish that somebody could point this out to Joe Biden. Not that he would change his mind about it, but that he would change his words. Stop saying it, that you've been able to work with mainstream Republicans your whole career. Hell, I've had mainstream Republicans over the course of my life, Mr. Biden, that I consider to be friends. But I don't anymore. And it's not because I left them. They left me with this crazy shit. Oh, my God. So, Joe, please. Yeah, like he's listening to you, Mike. Anyway, he went on to say this, quote, but the extreme-minded Republicans in Congress have chosen to go backwards, full of anger, violence, hate, and division. But together we can and we must choose a different path. Well, boss, when you say Republicans in Congress, who the fair? I mean, maybe not the people or the organizations or the corporate monsters who provide the money to run the campaigns, but who voted for them? Come on, Joe, please. When you talk about extreme-minded Republicans in Congress who've chosen to go backward, full of anger, violence, hate, and division, you're talking about the voters. Honest to God, Joe, you can't change the people in Congress you have to deal with unless you change the people who put them there. I mean, that's not difficult. Come on, Joe. Woo. In that same speech, and yeah, I know it was a speech, so it shouldn't really count for a whole lot, but in that same speech, Biden said that the U.S. has been able to overcome our challenges. And to a large degree, that's not always true. To a large degree, that's partly true. We haven't overcome slavery. I mean, we haven't. The only way we're ever going to overcome slavery, to begin to overcome slavery, is to begin with reparations. That's a whole different topic. And no, I'm not going to talk about it right now. But yeah, we've overcome a lot, Joe. But I mean, he went on to say that we've been able to overcome all this shit because this has been a nation of, quote, unity, of hope, of optimism, and a nation of division and violence and hatred that is being preached by some others. not a nation. I'm sorry. My brain is seeing something that my eyes are not interpreting because I know what's going on in this country. Here's his direct quote. We have been able to overcome challenges because the United States has been a nation of unity, hope, and optimism, not a nation of division and violence and hatred that's being preached by some others, end quote. Boss, are you kidding me? When you say that we have not been a nation of division and violence and hatred? But I'm flummoxed. I don't know what to say. It's not my place to point out to Joe Biden the horrors that have been perpetrated in this country because of division and violence and hatred. I mean, when you think about the outright, full-scale murder, destruction of our black brothers and sisters and their property and their families. When you think about the absolute hatred and murder and destruction of also our brothers and sisters who are Jews or who are Muslims, pick a group. Joe, this is a nation of division and violence and hatred. That's how we elect people in this country. Through division and hatred. And now, with the Christian terrorists, violence. So, like I said, I understand that it was a Labor Day political speech. This is what politicians do. I can remember as a kid on Labor Day going to the parade in downtown Toledo, chock-a-block with union members, 90% of whom were male. And the speeches given by the local politicians, it was the same stuff. We're a nation of unity, of hope, of optimism. While in the audience, people had come to watch, not the audience, but the parade goers, would be hundreds of black folk who did not have a sense of unity, who had very little hope, and whose optimism had been shattered by Jim Crow and now the shit that was going on in the 50s. It was shattered by the lynchings. It was shattered by the pictures of the Till, what was the young boy in Mississippi who was murdered, Ed. Damn it, I can't think of his first name. So the black folk who would stand and listen to these white union leaders, there weren't any black ones, trust me, given the speeches about hope and unity and optimism, I often wonder, what were they thinking? You couldn't read their faces because black folk had learned to freeze their faces into a mask of neutrality that was impenetrable. So there was no way to tell. And last week in a primetime address in Philly, that one I just mentioned a second ago, Biden mentioned that equality and democracy were, his words, under assault in the United States. But boss, that's the way it's always been, right? It's now just come out in the open. And in that speech, Biden singled out Trump by name. He accused the orange vomit and his supporters of stoking political violence, of causing it. He didn't say this, but they're part of it with their refusal to accept the results of the last presidential election. In that Philadelphia speech, Biden said, quote, Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic, end quote. Yeah. And then you have the former governor of South Carolina, a daughter of immigrants from India, Nikki Haley, who for some reason is a Republican and also served as UN ambassador under Trump. She was very critical of Biden's speech in her Twitter account. She said this. This is how insane it's gotten. This is Nikki Haley, quote, "He's done nothing to unite the nation, nothing to bring healing, nothing to alleviate the pain millions of Americans feel every day. He's been a divider in chief, and come November, he must hear from all of us," end quote. I mean, that is fucking crazy talk. That is crazy talk. All Biden has tried to do is unite the nation. All he's tried to do is bring healing, literal healing. Look what Trump did. Look what Stephen King said in his sponsorship tonight. Trump's criminal actions where it concerned COVID that resulted in hundreds of thousands of people dying. Come on, Nikki. And then she calls Biden a divider in chief. What the fuck? Nothing Biden says is designed to divide. Everything Trump says is designed to divide. That's what fascism is. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.